Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Lieutenant Nathaniel Flint of the Landship Scorpius, and today, the Nemoans are coming! The Nemoans are coming! That's right, today we are going to touch on the brand new update that just happened today, and then we are going to talk about the Nemoans a little bit. I really wanted this to be a short video. I don't think that's going to happen, so what we're going to do is basically be a reaction to all the Nemoan stat cards and arts that we have seen thus far. So let's jump immediately into it and not waste any time. First off, we have an update that is super important. I want to discuss that in this update, they did say that the Pledge Manager is going to close and is going to close on the 3rd of April, which is a Monday. That's going to be on English time. That they have. So you have until the 3rd of April. Assume that you have until the 1st of April, and that way you'll get some time, wiggle room if you need to. So if you want any late pledges, if you want to, actually you need to finish up your pledge if you've already made a pledge. You need to finalize it on GameFound. That's right, those emails you got a while back for GameFound, they are legit. If you need any help, you need to reach out to Steamforged Games, either through the Kickstarter or on GameFound, and get the help you need immediately. It is March, next month is April. You have the month of March for your late pledges and to finish them up. So, get that going, alright? Go! And let's start with the Hoplite. They gave us this nice little this piece to start us off in today's update. It is the Hoplite. This is the basic infantry unit, even though Nemoans kind of have 3. This was what would be considered the basic. Love the little bit of art. We also have a rarity here. Do I have it here? No. Do I have it here? We have a little bit of a rarity, is that we've already seen this card, but switching back and forth between them, we can notice little dinky tiny differences that have formed with the designs. What we're seeing, if you can tell, is we have little narrow ribbons, smaller icons. They've widened and bolded these ribbons a little bit. The icons got a little bigger. They're filling out the space a little bit more. The unit picture has gotten a fraction bigger. Just little tiny little updates that show us that even though we've already gotten a card revealed during the Kickstarter, they are still tweaking and working and doing everything with all of these cards after the Kickstarter. They're trying to get it just right and perfect. That's really good to see and uplifting to see. So with the Hoplite, we see that they cost 1 deployment point. They have 1 movement, but they do have runner when they start in a trench. It's not duck boards anymore. When they start in a trench, they get an additional +1 to their movement. And they are armor type 1, and they have 1 health. So 1 hit, and they're down. This is all pretty basic. They have 2 land range, which is standard for the basic infantry unit. They also have 1 air range, which puts them like the Panzerfaust as having that 1 air range. What sets them apart immediately is that they have 2 attacks, and they're really good. They can touch anything in the game. They are going to be instantly a jack-of-all-trades unit. As we can see, they get 2 dice against armor type 1. And that's their highest dice they get. So they're going to be anti-infantry kind of units. However, since it's only 2 dice, that's not that much more. They can touch anything. They are going to be deadly wherever they go out. And this is that kind of deal where the Nemoans are just a deadlier faction with fewer units, but much more deadly on the field. And this is going to be part of that any one of these Hoplites could really do a bad day. And with them only costing 1 deployment point, you can get them out and all over the field immediately. So this is a good baseline when we're talking about Nemoans. Their Hoplites are solid, and we're going to see this trend of them being deadly. And let's move on to their other base infantry type, quote unquote. This is the Icarus Jump Infantry. There are fewer of these units to go around, but their art does look amazing. Look at they're just so well done. They are 2 deployment points. They have a movement of 3. These guys can move. These guys can be deployed and immediately rush to those strategic objectives. It is truly amazing. They are armor type 1 and they only have 1 health, but again, they're not really held back by other units' issues with that. They are going to be moving quickly. They also got those 2 attacks with a huge arrangement. They can hit a little bit harder than the Hoplite, so we have 2 dice for 1 and 2 dice for 2, so they're going to be able to take out support units and some minor armored units. Really well done, but they can still touch armor type 3 and 4. The big deal is that they are a flying unit. These are like the base like scouts or fighter planes for the Nemoans. They are not going to be on the center like grids. They're going to be in the squares like the normal ones. However, they do have leap, which means that they can technically move through squares containing enemies and terrain that they can't enter. They ignore any terrain that this unit moves through except for the square that it finishes on, which means as long as it can be in its ending square of its movement, it can move there regardless of what is blocking it or what's around it or what the rules are. This is going to be a pretty decent unit. They also have bolster defense 1. The lore behind this is because they're flying around and zipping around, they're a little bit harder to hit. So they get that bolster defense 1. That means you get to remove 1 dice used against you to a minimum of having basically 1 dice attack against you. This is going to be great because they are armor type 1 and only 1 health, which means they're going to be going up against Schlitten, they're going to be going up against Riflemen, and it's going to be very important that they take these guys out. With 1 less dice to do that with, that's going to be amazing. They also get Rapid Assault 1. If their 3 movement isn't enough to get you where you need to go, or if you're going to be strategic about it, you can always move once during their attack phase to get them that 1 step closer to absolutely attack a position or whoever they need to attack. They do have 2 attacks, but they only have 1 land range and 1 air range. That's not a whole lot to work with when they are in danger of being hit with that 1 armor type and 1 health. So that rapid assault is going to be great for getting them just out of range so that on your turn you can move them that 1 extra and get right up close and in range to hit them. I think that's going to be real good. Next we have one of the infantry hero units, Sergeant Ajax. What a beast. This guy's amazing. He's going to cost 3 deployment points and 2 rivets to get out onto the field. That's a hefty price. However, I think we're going to find that he's worth it. He has only 1 movement. So he's slow, but he's an armor type 3 with 3 health. This guy's a walking tank, which we haven't seen since Atomic Robo. So he's going to be walking around being a beast. He does have 2 land range and 1 air range, which means he's going to be deadly. And if we can look at his stats down there, he is deadly. So he has 1 blast attack, which means he hits everything in a single square. And he gets 1 dice against armor type 1. He gets 2 dice against armor type 2. And then we get to his higher dices. So as we see, he gets 2 dice for armor type 3 and 1 dice for armor type 4. However, his specials is where it's at. He buffs a special called High Explosive. That means that this unit gains +1 die when attacking armor type 3 and armor type 4. This means that he gets 3 dice against armor type 3 and 2 dice against armor type 4. What a beast. And he buffs this. What this means is any unit that's in the same square as him gets this advantage. So all those units that don't attack armor type 3 or 4 at all, which for the Nemoans is going to be almost non-existent, they now get +1 die when attacking those units. But all the ones that only get 1 die here or there, they're going to get 2. It's going to be amazing. His entire square is going to become a monster when attacking tanks and those heavy tanks, which are looking more and more necessary when attacking the Nemoans. Let's not waste time. Let's move. Captain Robur. Wow. Or Robur. Absolutely amazing. I love the concept of this guy. He's a reference to a Jules Verne book, and he is an amazing unit. As we can see, he's 3 deployment points and 1 rivet. He's a little bit cheaper than Ajax, but still quite expensive to get out in the field. He only has 1 movement, but as we can see with his specials, he buffs +1 movement to others. So he, since units gain their own buff, he does have 2 movement when he's on the field, and he's going to buff that to all units around him in the same square. That's amazing. He's going to be able to get a lot of movements to move a little bit quicker. If you combine this with people's runner, like for the hoplites, you're going to get them out into the field, out of a trench, and a charge that is going to be truly magnificent to get them up right into the fight much quicker. He's only armor type 1, but he does have 3 health, again, to help him survive a little bit. We never really talked about this. He does have a bounty. Does he have? Of course, he has a bounty. So when they die, you do give your opponents a point, victory point for taking them out. That 3 health is going to help with that. He does have 2 land range and 1 air range, looking pretty standard. He gets only 1 attack with 2 dice against armor type 1, and then 1 against the rest. So he attacks like a hoplite. Doesn't matter. Very, very good. The big bonuses with this guy is that he buffs an extra movement to everyone in the same square. This is going to be huge. This could really do some big damage and make sure that you get units way up into the fight a lot quicker. Having him in the back or even in midfield, making sure that you can get those units exactly where they need to be is going to be huge. But you're going to want him up in the middle of the fight, especially in no man's land, because he gets war bonds. If this unit is on a strategic objective at the start of the deployment phase, you gain an extra deployment point. Again, that extra deployment point is a hoplite, to put it into perspective. Or maybe a lot of units are 3 deployment points. It could be getting another bigger unit on the field. This is amazing. Hoplites are no joke. Even like the Cerberus Strikers, all these things are no jokes for the Nemoans. So getting an extra deployment point to make sure you can get basically a single extra unit out, or even just even a bigger unit out, that's going to be huge. Absolutely huge to get them on the field. And they're no joke with the Nemoans. And we get some stuff for the Nautilus Tank. This thing is a beast. And you can tell because its cost is 6 deployment points and 3 rivets. If you are in a bigger match that gives 6 deployment points, this thing is going to be hard to get out. It's going to take several rounds to build up those rivets and get them out there. It is a beast of a tank. You can also tell it has 3 bounties. This is heavy metal kind of stuff. This is going to be the big heavy tanks getting out on the field. It does only have 1 movement, but we'll come back to that. We'll talk about that later. It is an armor type 4. Again, big hunky boy. This is an absolute beast of a unit. And then it's got 6 health. Oh, this thing might be untouchable to some units, but even the ones it's touchable by, it's going to take a hit. It is a tank in every sense of the word. It only has 1 range. We'll talk about that in a second. And no air ranges, but that's fine. It's got 2 plug slots. So make sure that you are utilizing its plugs to ensure that it is never without an air range. So first thought, you think that this is going to be a little balanced, but we're going to talk about this again. It has no dice against armor type 1, no dice against armor type 2, but it does get 3 dice against armor type 3 and 3 dice against armor type 4. This thing can absolutely rip through tanks. This is an amazing thing. Oh, it's going to be crazy. It also has some specials. This is where we're going to be talking about the movement and the attacks. So, the specials, it is immune to gas. If it's a little weird that you haven't been seeing that lately, it is here. Not all Nemoans are immune to gas. That is an interesting thing to think about, especially you Blight players who are have very little reason to put Baron Gaston on the field. Their immunity to gas is called out here, so all the other big buff units are going to have some issues. But enough of that. Let's talk about Driller. Driller says that when this unit moves, it may move through squares that contain enemy units, and it may end its movement in squares that are either, it is implied either empty or that contain only enemy infantry, cavalry, or support units. So no tanks. Resolve the square. Units not destroyed by this attack are then moved to another square within one. So the idea is that it can move through grids, so it's burrowing and going under the ground, moving through grids regardless of what's on them, and then bursting out of the ground. And basically that's how it's attacking these lower armored units. So it gets 3 dice attack against these kind of units. That is great. So basically this is 3 across the board. The units it's not able to do this with, it's not going to be able to be in the same grid. That's these armor type 3 and 4 like tank units, like big units. So what that's doing is it needs to be next to them because it only has a range of 1, and it's basically hitting into them and drilling into them to destroy them. So if they're small, it can go underneath and burst out, causing them to scatter or die. Or if it's big, it's ramming them. Such good way to give the flavor of a unit through its stats. It also has momentum 2. If this unit gains an extra 2 movement, if it moves in a straight line. This is very simple. This means that it goes under the ground, and it can basically charge through and then end on that 3rd movement, bursting through the ground and hitting a bunch of people. Absolutely terrifying. This is a great use of a movement, and it's kind of giving you an attack in the movement phase. So, what is not to love? The worst thing about this is it cannot drill into, say, like a bunker or a strategic objective because it's not able to enter those. But, this is still going to be great for getting past tank traps, bunkers, strategic objectives, other enemy tanks, going behind them into the enemy lines, bursting through and hitting those grouped up enemies, cavalry, or support units that are causing you trouble. Amazing, amazing use. This unit looks amazing. That art looks fantastic. Oh, cannot get enough. And another big thing, which this explains, is the Nautilus Tank is kind of combined with this Nautiloid, the kind of Nautilus trailer tank unit. So when it is out in the field, a Nautilus Tank can choose to, in the deployment zone, basically deploy one of these units next to it. It is just a tank unit, and let's talk about it for a bit. So the Nautiloid, interesting. Sorry, I saw something that we'll talk about when we get to it. So Nautiloid costs nothing. This is an action of the Nautilus Tank. Actually, does it say that it's the action? It does not. So it's nothing on the Nautilus Tank. So during the deployment phase, you can deploy this unit next to it. It costs 0. You need to be in friendly territory or no man's land in order to do this. And it can only be next to a Nautilus Tank. And for those of you who have bought several sets of Nemoans or who are going to be collecting Nemoans after this, it is 1 trailer per Nautilus Tank. So you can't have a giant chain that is spawned if you do have multiple. It costs nothing. It has 3 armor type and 4 health. This thing is basically a big old tank. Now, it does say that it itself has 1 attack, which is a little strange. I wouldn't expect that from this, especially since its big thing is having a plug go in it. Oh, it by itself also has a bounty, but it's going to have these mega plugs that decide what this does on the battlefield. So we can talk about that a little bit further down. But this says it does get its own 1 attack against Armor Type 3 and Armor Type 4 units. I wonder if that's intentional or if this is maybe a mistake. But hey, we'll see. And it has special, so it's immune to gas. That makes sense. It is a trailer. It detaches, so it's 1 per Nautilus tank. During the deployment phase is put next to it, whether when it's in no man's land or in friendly territory. So that's important to remember. It also has forward base. Plugs and mega plugs can be deployed on this unit anywhere on the battlefield, not just in your own territory. So that's going to help get around the fact that this can be deployed anywhere and be a little bit more useful than other things that require plugs. So you're going to be able to put a massive plug inside of this, and then any plugs that are on this as well are going to be able to be deployed outside of your territory. So let's talk about those mega plugs and what they do. We have the Nautiloid Factory. Again, no cost. So when you deploy this, you're basically choosing one of these. Is this free too? Yes. So you're basically choosing one of these mega plugs to go on it. So you're pulling up the trailer and it'll have whatever it has. So we have the Nautiloid Factory. So this plug is mostly about the specials. Let's get into it real quick. Mobile deployment as an action. So once per game, move a friendly deployment token to a square adjacent to this unit that isn't in enemy territory and doesn't contain any terrain or enemy units. Basically, this says take one of your deployment tokens at the back of the board and move it right next to this unit. You now deploy all your units for 1 square right next to this one. This is a great use of your abilities. This moves a deployment zone. It could be right up to the middle of the map, right in no man's land. You could basically deploy right in the middle of like a collection of like strategic objectives. Like, this is a great use. It also has mobile redeployment as an action. You can move a friendly deployment token that's adjacent to this unit to any adjacent square that isn't in enemy territory and doesn't contain any terrain or enemy units. So after you do that once per game move for this unit, you move it up and it's right there. You can then move it around as needed around you. So if you deploy a bunch of units and you realize that they're not going to move from next to this unit, they're kind of defending it, you can then move that unit as an action again, so that the next deployment phase you have a fresh square, or after the Nautilus tank moves, because again, the Nautiloid trailer can only deploy next to a Nautilus tank. You can then say, well, I want where the Nautilus tank was to be the deployment zone. So you're not able to do that right off the bat, but now you're able to move it to that square after it has a chance to move away. And then lastly, in its factory shutdown, when this unit is destroyed, return all adjacent friendly deployment tokens to their original squares. So this basically says that, hey, when this is broken and destroyed, the flavor of why you're able to spawn in the middle of the map is gone. So you don't just leave that deployment token there, put it back where it came from, and you're deploying like normal once again. So I'm assuming this once per game is not definitive. You don't get one shot at a Nautiloid Factory. I'm assuming it is for this factory. It can do this once per game. That way you're not creating a little halo of deployment around your factory and basically deploying everything in the center of the map. So I'm assuming that's what it is meaning. And next off, we talk about the Nautiloid Battery. The Nautiloid Battery really doesn't have that much going for it, except that it gets 2 plug slots. This is a big, beefy turret plug, basically, like the turrets that we have. In the middle of wherever you want it to be, in the middle of the map, you can just have a little base area with, let's check that real quick, Armor Type 3 and 4 health that has 2 plugs. With the Nemoan plugs, that is nothing to shake a stick at. So that's going to be big, beefy, and dangerous. That's amazing, and it's very simple. This also says forward base plugs and mega plugs can be deployed on this unit anywhere in the battlefield. I don't know if they did that because the trailer needs one to explain mega plugs, and then this plug needs it to explain its little plugs. I would assume that since any special goes up, that this would only need to be set on the trailer. But honestly, to avoid any fights or any discussions, it's kind of nice that it's redundant here. And it's simple. Look at how that's going to look. Can you imagine what that mini is going to look like? Great. Amazing. I love this. I cannot wait to see this like in person, like as a physical thing. It's going to look so great. I'm loving this. And that's all for today's update. But since I haven't really done a video on it, why don't we dive into a few others? We'll do a lightning round. We'll try to get really quick. Cerberus Strikers, it's the first card we got to see. They are the cavalry unit, the main cavalry unit for the Nemoans. They're fast. They got 3 movement. On top of that, they've got momentum, where they gain an additional 2 if they move in a straight line. Additional 2, that's 5 movement. They can go from the very back deployment zones straight into no man's land, or straight into enemy territory, depending on the map you're playing on, as long as it's in a straight line. That is amazing. They have 2 land range and 1 air range. These things are literally strikers. That is amazing. They can get right wherever you need them and have the range to touch whatever you want to touch. Ooh, I'm an idiot. They cost 3, they move 2, so they can move a total of 4. Doesn't matter. That's still 4 squares is a lot of movement. That's still good. Combine that with Robur, and they get that extra. They'll get where they need to get. But 4 is still big. I misread that. They only have 1 health, but they are armor type 2, so they will be protected from most infantry or like anti-infantry units. They get 2 attacks, but they have to, this little thing here means they have to make those attacks in the same square. So they can basically attack a unit twice, or they need to attack the other units in the square. And they get 3 dice against infantry, 2 against everything like support and medium armor, and then 1 against the heavier armors. So good, so good. This is, they look great. This could be a favorite unit. This could be a very favorite unit. It's definitely a must-have. Just like my Sturmrads, these are going to be pivotal to have on the field. Of course, we have the Helios Mechs. We know that their pilot is going to be a plug slot that you can put right in there. They cost 3 and 2. They're a solid like tank unit. To have. They have that flyer and they have that bolster defense. Again, the flavor being that they're flying around so quickly that they're hard to hit. Flyer that they can basically, as long as they can get to a square, they can land in it. They do only have that 2 movement, so they can basically jump over a single obstacle. They are armor type 3, 2 health. They can take some hit. They have 2 land range and 2 air range. They're going to be amazingly anti-aircraft units. And with their chain attack, that's going to be pretty decently. They also buff the bolster defense. This is that thing that we saw in the thing where they punch the ground and they kind of protect the units around them. I love it. Love the flavor. And they have a decent spread here for attacks. So, not much more needs to be said. This is another change. We had this card before, and now we can see how they changed it here. I thought that's interesting. Again, showing that they are moving things around. So we can see that it went up in price. So it went up a deployment point. They added in the bounties, which were much needed. We can see the change in all the other like designs, like bigger, thicker things, using that space a little bit better. And of course, bigger art pieces, so we can see them. Although this seems to have zoomed out. I would like to see as much of the tank as I can, personally. So I would maybe like that maybe zoomed out. But maybe they wanted this to prevent as much of the like blank space as possible. They added these in to the specials, talking about the units. This is good. I like this. This helps with readability for people who English might be a second language, but also just helps let people instantly know what they're talking about, like the unit type, without using the names. Nope, I like it, like it, like it, like it, like it. This is what we had before for the Nautiloid Factory. I like that it has its own card showing us what that is now. One of the turrets we talked about earlier, although we can see that they're making updates, so we should take everything with a grain of salt. But the Hydra Turret costs 2, has 2 land range and 1 air range. It's got 2 chain attacks, and it's basically an anti-infantry unit, but it can, of course, hit everything. This is going to be one of the plugs going in that Nautiloid trailer plug, the battery, or on the Nautilus tank itself. Absolutely brutal. This is a great unit to have on, and as I was hinting at earlier, can help give the Nautilus tank a little extra air range protection, because let's face it, as we learned today, you're going to want to take that Nautilus tank out so that it doesn't bring that trailer on, because then you're really going to want to take that trailer out. Gorgon Artillery, honestly, flavor win. Absolute flavor win. I love these guys. I love the drill artillery thing. They cost 3. They're going to be a support unit. They only get 1 movement. They're an armor type 1 with 1 health. So these are kind of like those hammer pounders, and kind of like them. They have a 3 range, so they can reach pretty far out there. They do get 2 attacks, which is dangerous. Again, taking out those lower armor types, but they can still hit the bigger ones. But they get this accurate. This unit's attacks ignore bolster defense. That's going to be huge, especially with clearing out bunkers or any of those units like, say, the Wolverine that buffs bolster defense to units around it. That's going to be huge. So you're not going to have to worry about that with this units and their 2 attacks. This is going to be clearing out bunkers, clearing out SOs, or hitting bolster defense units hard. And why not? We're doing a video about Nemoans. Let's kind of go through the research briefing that came from below if you want to read this for yourself. It's all the Nemoans concept art. It's this comic stuff we've talked about in other videos. Absolutely amazing. Beautiful art pieces. I mean, I love it. I would love to get this for all the units. I really, really, really would. I mean, absolutely amazing. They showed the early prototypes. I wanted to do a whole video on. You know what? I do want to do a whole video on that. So we'll wait on these. They look great. I wanted to talk about them. We see some early renders for some of the units that at this point, when this was released, hadn't been shown off yet. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I really do love this. This is a good read. We'll go through that. Some of the concept arts. Look at these these look like stuffed bears, but they were a concept at one point to have little moles that were kind of their buddies. Amazing. My fiance called that and begged for it. She loved the look of that. And with that, that's it for this video. Let's cut it off. Again, the Nemoans are coming. What did you guys like? What did you hate? Let me know down below. Also, talk to us at the official Facebook group, as well as on the Board Game Geek forums. What did you guys think? What did you like about this update? What did you dislike? What do you think about these units? My comments down below are also always open, but where all the people are gathering to discuss Rivet Wars are on the official Facebook group and on Board Game Geek forums. We also have a fan Discord link down below. The Discord page isn't official. It is fan run, but a lot of people are there, again, discussing these updates as they happen and getting some questions answered. If we're lucky, you might even see Jamie Perkins there. And I'll call that good. Let's reiterate that again. Monday, the 3rd of April, is when the Pledge Manager ends, which means that's your last... No, that means that it's over for late pledges and completing your pledge manager. So go! If you haven't pledged yet, you have until then to get the Kickstarter exclusive Nemoans. You know, what we just spent this entire video discussing, as well as anything extra or upgrading your pledges. Getting things like if you want to go bigger and get the deluxe package or whatever you want, you have until April 3rd to figure that out and get that in. Again, to be safe, consider it April 1st. You have March to get that stuff together. Get it in as soon as possible. You do not want to be there the night before with issues. And if you're so inclined, subscribe for more content. We are going to be covering updates and other Rivet Wars content. I kind of got to blast through some of the Nemoans, but there's some other things I want to do, like the cross-faction cards and other things that kind of deserve their own videos to kind of do a dive like this. So if you like this, subscribe for more Rivet Wars comment. Oh my god, subscribe for more Rivet Wars content. I forgot, we hit 400. We hit 400 subscribers. Matter of fact, I think we've gone over by the time this video has recorded. That is amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do steampunk content on this channel, but it's been kind of consumed by Rivet Wars. I love Rivet Wars. I'm so excited that we're getting Rivet Wars Reloaded. So it's kind of been consumed lately, but I do steampunk content and some gaming content here and there, like with Scythe and Iron Harvest and some other things. So this is an amazing opportunity. I appreciate you guys doing a subscribe and like this video to tell me and the algorithm that you like this kind of content. You can check out my other videos. I have steampunk events, and I have, of course, other Rivet Wars content. And I will see you guys in the next video. I want to keep this as small as possible for editing. So, yeah. I'm so excited. Be prepared. It sounds like we will be getting still our March update. This is considered our February one. So I'll be on the lookout for the March update when that happens. Most likely towards the very end of the month, I'm sure. But they claim that we'll still get a March update. So fingers crossed. And I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye-bye. Like, subscribe, etc.